At a federal prison in Colorado, Ray observed the guards while burning a page from his Bible, using the ashes to draw on the wall. At that moment, his cellmate informed him that an inmate was planning to attack Ray in the prison yard the next day. When the time came, Ray attacked first and quickly took down 2 other prisoners, fighting like an expert and injuring them severely. The guards immediately grabbed Ray and took him to solitary confinement, where he was allowed to keep his Bible. As the days passed, Ray studied the guards' routines, such as when they smoked and their breaks during the unlocking process with the code. Ray also began making small marbles from toilet paper and water, hiding them inside toilet paper rolls. When they brought him lunch, Ray pulled out a transparent plastic sheet from a milk carton. One afternoon, Ray asked a guard for the time, then began counting on his own. Outside, a mysterious woman stopped her car in the prison parking lot, and after getting out, she used a remote to blow the car up. All the guards rushed to evacuate the prisoners, but they discovered Ray had escaped. The fire truck rushed in to put out the fire, and at that moment, it was revealed that Ray had disguised himself as a firefighter. He took advantage of this opportunity to escape in a car driven by his friends, Hush and Abigail, who had set off the explosion. They dropped Ray off at a roadside store and handed him a coin. Ray used this coin to call a phone number and simply said one word, "Showtime." Soon after, Ray was surrounded by police and caught again. However, he was not worried because his contact, Lester, had taken care of everything. Later, in prison, Lester explained that he and Ray worked for a company hired by the government to execute jailbreaks and point out weaknesses in prison security systems. Ray had escaped from 14 prisons, and now he explained how he did it this time. He had studied the prison blueprints and the guards' routines carefully, discovering an unprotected fire garage. Ray had deliberately made enemies to be sent to solitary confinement, where he noticed the prison was understaffed, and he was often left alone when the guards went outside to smoke. Ray wrote a letter to his team, hiding the planned escape date in the form of a code. He also placed a plastic sheet over the keyboard to collect the guards' fingerprints, then hid it inside his Bible. This plastic sheet gave him 4 numbers, and to guess the code sequence, Ray used toilet paper rolls to block the food slot door, preventing it from locking properly. When the guards were absent, Ray tried different code combinations until it worked. Once he found the code, Ray went outside, rewound the security cameras a few hours to cover up his absence. He then used the ventilation shafts to reach the fire garage just before Abigail triggered the explosion. Now the prison warden was furious but still allowed Ray to leave. Sometime later, in Los Angeles, Ray helped Hush solve some computer issues before meeting CIA agent Jessica, who made a job offer. She explained that the CIA had created a new prison, but they could not disclose its location to Ray or his team. However, if Ray could escape from it, they would pay him $5 million instead of the usual $2.5 million. Ray agreed to take on the job, although Abigail and Hush were somewhat suspicious. Jessica provided Ray with a false identity as a terrorist specializing in explosives named Portos. His contact in the prison would be Warden Marsh, and Ray was given an evacuation code. A few days later, in New Orleans, Abigail and Hush were still concerned about the lack of information regarding the prison. They convinced Ray to wear a tracking device, which was injected into his arm. Afterward, Ray stood on the street waiting for a ride but was suddenly attacked with a stun gun and thrown into the back of a truck. As the truck moved, masked men scanned Ray's body and discovered the tracking device, so they immediately removed it. Ray's signal instantly disappeared from Abigail and Hush's computer. At the same time, Ray was injected with a drug and fell into a deep sleep. Sometime later, when Ray woke up, he found himself in a helicopter. In a groggy state, Ray witnessed a guard named Drake beat another inmate, then stab him and throw his body out of the helicopter. When Drake saw Ray waking up, he ordered his team to inject Ray with more drugs to keep him unconscious. When Ray woke up again, he realized he was in a prison, but it was nothing like any place he had seen before. All the cells were made of plexiglass blocks suspended in mid-air, and the guards wore black masks to conceal their identities. There was a huge spherical camera constantly rotating, always monitoring the prisoners. Once fully awake, Ray was led to meet the prison warden, a man named Hobbs. Ray felt nervous because this was not the warden they had told him about earlier. Ray provided his evacuation code, but Hobbs didn't understand and didn't seem to care. Then, when everyone was taken out of their cells for a break, Ray witnessed the guards brutally beating anyone who disobeyed orders. The prisoners' uniforms all had special codes and were scanned at each door. At this point, Warden Hobbs announced Ray's name over the loudspeaker, as if declaring his presence. After witnessing another man being beaten, Ray was approached by a group of prisoners who wanted to take advantage of him. Ray immediately broke the arm of the leader and punched him down before the others could react. Inmate Emile saw this and ordered his group to step back. Emile tried to befriend Ray and explained that he had worked for Mannheim, a powerful man who stole from the rich to give to the poor. Mannheim was a wanted criminal, but Emile refused to provide any information to Hobbs. However, Ray wasn't interested in Emile's story. Meanwhile, Hobbs scolded Drake for killing the inmate, as the arrest had been for a client. This hinted that many people here were not criminals, but rather individuals who had fallen into unfortunate circumstances. At the same time, it was discovered that Hobbs owned the book Ray had written. The whole day, Ray continued to study the structure of the prison and the behavior of the inmates. For example, he noticed that the Muslim prisoners still prayed, even though they couldn't see the sunset. Emil noticed that Ray was observing everything and pointed out that he was someone who could help if needed. So, Ray explained that he needed to be placed in solitary confinement. Wanting to help, Emil immediately punched Ray, knocking him down. But when Ray fought back, Emil just laughed and continued fighting. The real fight began until the guards arrived and dragged Ray and Emil to solitary confinement. The solitary rooms were small metal boxes with glaring lights beside them, torturing the prisoners with unbearable temperatures. Ray tried to endure the pain and checked the room for anything that could help him escape. A few days later, Dr. 𝒫𝓁𝒶𝓃 came to check Ray's health, and Ray tried to gather information from him, but 𝒫𝓁𝒃 revealed nothing. As 𝒫𝓁𝒃 was leaving, he was approached by Drake, who demanded that he clarify what they had discussed. 𝒫𝓁𝒃 lied, which made Ray think that 𝒫𝓁𝒃 might still have a conscience. Later, Emil and Ray were brought back to the common area, where Ray began to draw a picture on the table. He simultaneously told Emil that he would need a piece of metal and promised to help Emil get out if he assisted. Emil requested to see Hobbs and pretended that he would eventually reveal Mannheim's location. He asked for some paper to draw a map, but instead he drew a very crude image. Hobbs was furious, and ordered the guards to restrain Emil for waterboarding torture. Emil endured immense pain. He seized the opportunity to steal a metal manhole cover. Later, in the common area, Emil handed the metal cover to Ray, who then revealed his true identity and how he ended up there. Ray carefully observed the prison structure and guessed that it was built underground. There was something beneath the cell covers that could help him escape, because being underground, the damp air had caused the steel nails to rust. Ray will use toothpaste and heat with the metal sheet to make the nails pop out. To carry out the plan, they would need to be placed in solitary confinement once again. Emil approached Javad and started a fight by insulting his mother. Javad's group of Muslim prisoners immediately rushed to defend him, and after hiding some bread in his shirt, Ray joined the fight. However, they only managed to exchange a few punches before the guards appeared, using stun guns to subdue everyone. When they were all returned to the scorching hot boxes, Ray began working on the nails, concealing his actions with his body. The task was extremely difficult due to the heat, and his hands began to bleed. Each time there was a loud noise, Emil would yell to cover it up. Finally, Ray managed to remove all the nails and covered the security camera with a loaf of bread before tapping on the wall to signal Emil. At that moment, Emil began crying and screaming wildly in German, drawing the attention of all the guards. Ray seized the opportunity to open the cover and started climbing down the ladder. He continued descending until he fell into a sealed compartment. The door was locked, so Ray decided to use the pipe to climb up but accidentally tore some wires and broke a few pipes in the process. Ray didn't stop and kept going until he found another cover. When he opened it, he discovered the horrifying truth. This prison was inside an oil tanker, in the middle of the ocean. Suddenly, Ray noticed a few guards nearby, so he quickly hid inside the hatch and continued climbing down. However, water from the leaks pushed him out, causing him to fall, but the corridor began to flood, and he fell into the water safely. The cells began to fill with water, and an alarm went off, as the guards rushed to evacuate the prisoners from solitary confinement. Ray swam as fast as he could, and after several attempts, he fought against the water pressure as he climbed the stairs, finally returning to his cell just before the guards arrived. Meanwhile, Abigail and Hush informed Lester that the payment from Jessica had been frozen. However, Lester told them he had spoken with her, and everything was still fine. After the water was dealt with, Hobbs discovered the nails in Ray's cell and began to suspect something. He made a phone call and found out that Lester had been in contact with him the entire time. Lester revealed Ray's true identity to Hobbs and instructed him to keep Ray locked up forever. At the same time, Lester also asked Hobbs to provide information about Mannheim, as banks around the world wanted his head. Hobbs explained that Emil might be collaborating with Ray, so Lester allowed Hobbs to hurt Ray as well. The following evening, Ray tried to sleep, but a guard kept tapping on the wall to prevent him from resting. The next morning, he was awakened by the guards with a beating as a warning. This continued every day, causing Ray's body to weaken to the point where he could barely move anymore. Emil always encouraged Ray, trying to keep his spirits up. Then, Ray shared a story about his past as a prosecutor. A criminal he had put in prison one day escaped and killed his family in revenge. The drawing Ray was making was his last memory of his child. Since then, Ray made sure that criminals would never escape from prison again. In the following days, Ray studied the guards' habits to identify useful patterns, starting to distinguish them by their physiques in order to make a plan. First, he needed to know where they were, but there were no landmarks when he went out one day. During lunchtime, 𝐸𝓈 secretly stabbed Ray, and he was taken to 𝒫𝓁𝒃𝓃's office to get his wound stitched. Ray suddenly pretended to be in severe pain and fell down, using the opportunity to steal a few items from the tray. Ray reminded 𝒫𝓁𝒃𝓃 about his oath, but the doctor still ignored Ray's questions. When returning to the common area, 𝐸𝓈 handed Ray a pen and a pair of prisoner glasses, hiding his hand under the table. Ray began crafting a sextant, a navigation tool that would help them determine direction based on the stars. Drake and Hobbs noticed strange movements on the security cameras, so Hobbs ordered to meet with Ray. Luckily, Ray had hidden the tool before being dragged away to a new area. There, Hobbs revealed that he knew Ray's true identity and admitted using Ray's book to design the prison. Hobbs was determined to leave Ray there forever. Ray lied and claimed that he could get information about Mannheim from 𝐸𝓈. Afterwards, Ray was taken back to the common area and told 𝐸𝓈 about the new plan. Later, when Ray was feeding Hobbs a pile of false information, 𝐸𝓈 approached 𝒫𝓁 and handed him the sextant, promising to help him escape if he supported them later. 𝒫𝓁 contacted Hobbs and informed him that the others were planning an escape. Hobbs agreed to buy 𝒫𝓁's information by allowing him to pray outdoors, as per his religious requirement, but it was all part of the plan. That night, in his new cell, 𝒫𝓁 used the sextant to take the coordinates of their location. The next day, during lunch, 𝒫𝓁 passed a note to Ray. Ray combined the note with other pieces of information, such as the weather he felt when he went outside, the date mentioned by a new prisoner, and the direction of the water flow in the toilet. He concluded that they were near the coast of Morocco. Next, Ray swallowed laundry detergent to fake being sick and was taken to 𝒫𝓁𝒃𝓃's office. Once there, he asked the doctor to go to Hobbs's office and read a specific passage from a book. After some hesitation, 𝒫𝓁𝒃𝓃 checked the book and found the Hippocratic Oath. The following day, 𝒫𝓁𝒃𝓃 requested the guards to bring Ray to his office for a health check. 𝒫𝓁𝒃𝓃 wondered how Ray knew exactly which page it was, and Ray explained that he had written it. This confirms his identity and eventually convinces 𝒫𝓁𝒃𝓃 to help. Then, Ray gave Hobbs a false location to find Mannheim, giving them 24 hours to escape before Hobbs realized the truth. As part of the plan, 𝒫𝓁 also met Hobbs and informed him of the upcoming escape, causing Hobbs to rush to check the security cameras and notice Ray tapping on the prison cell wall. Recognizing Morse code, they discovered a message about a riot plan in the riot C block area. Meanwhile, 𝒫𝓁𝒃𝓃 was sending an encrypted email requesting help. After most of the guards were sent to Block C, 𝒫𝓁 began causing trouble in the common area, quickly escalating into chaos. When Hobbs tried to order the guards to change positions quickly, Ray, 𝐸𝓈, and 𝒫𝓁 charged in, knocking down the remaining guards and stealing their weapons. New guards arrived and started subduing the prisoners, but also threw a gas bomb, giving the trio the chance to sneak away undetected. Ray explained that they only had 11 minutes to meet the rescue team, which was approaching by helicopter. The three rushed upstairs and shot open a door, but Ray spotted a security camera. Since all the cameras were connected, Ray destroyed this one to disable all the cameras in the area. At that moment, Hobbs activated the lockdown mode for the entire area, and when the three were about to escape, they discovered the exit door was locked. The three began searching for another way out, and they were quickly surrounded by guards, forcing them to shoot back in self-defense. They quickly took down all the guards, but 𝒫𝓁 was injured in the process. As more guards approached, 𝐸𝓈 and Ray pulled 𝒫𝓁 away to escape and hid behind another door. Ray realized they had been detected by a motion sensor, so he turned it off while Hobbs angrily mocked them over the loudspeakers. Ray decided he had to find the engine room to cut the power, so he gave his gun to 𝒫𝓁 and told 𝐸𝓈 to go upstairs. After Ray leaves, 𝒫𝓁 admits he won't survive, so he takes 𝐸𝓈's gun and tells him to move on without turning back. Shortly after, 𝐸𝓈 also left, and 𝒫𝓁 was surrounded by the guards. He bravely shot down all of them before being taken down by a hidden sniper. When Hobbs arrived, 𝒫𝓁 said his final words to God before being killed. Meanwhile, Drake chased Ray into the engine room. Ray jumped and ran to dodge Drake's bullets. Then, he suddenly attacked from behind, and during the struggle, Drake dropped his gun, but he pulled out a knife. The two fought hand to hand, exchanging several blows, and Drake choked Ray for a moment before starting to kick him. Ray grabbed Drake's leg to gain the upper hand, and the fight continued. The two fought and used a few tools as weapons. After exchanging a few punches, Ray pushed Drake down the stairs, finishing him off afterward. Ray hurried to the control panel, took out the technician, and shut down the ship's generator. The entire ship's lights went out, and the doors opened, allowing 𝐸𝓈 to escape. At that moment, a helicopter opened fire on the ship before landing on the deck. A group of soldiers stepped out and began fighting the guards. 𝐸𝓈 dodged the bullets and sneaked up to the helicopter, where one soldier had been shot. The pilot wanted to take off, but 𝐸𝓈 asked him to wait for Ray. Before taking off, 𝐸𝓈 grabbed a machine gun, joined the gunfight, and eliminated dozens of guards in seconds. In the engine room, Hobbs was searching for Ray, who was hiding in a water tank. At this moment, the guards reactivated the ship's system, forcing 𝐸𝓈 to leave with his team by helicopter. Ray's water tank began to fill with water, but before he could drown, the tank automatically drained and pushed Ray out into the sea. He immediately swam to the surface, and 𝐸𝓈 lowered a ladder for him. However, as Ray climbed up, Hobbs and the guards opened fire on them. 𝐸𝓈 handed Ray a gun, and the two shot back until 𝐸𝓈 was injured in the shoulder. Hobbs continued to miss the moving targets, and Ray seized the opportunity to shoot the oil barrels, causing a massive explosion that killed Hobbs. A few hours later, the helicopter dropped them off on a beach in Morocco, where they were greeted by Jessica. It turned out 𝐸𝓈 was Mannheim, and Jessica was his daughter. She had hired Ray to rescue her father from prison. She also confirmed that Lester had betrayed and deceived her. Sometime later, Ray reunited with Abigail, who had gathered information about Lester. Lester had been offered the CEO position of the prison program if Ray couldn't escape. At this point, Lester was trying to flee, but Hush was waiting in his car. Hush quickly took down Lester. When Lester woke up, he realized the car he was in was locked inside a crate on a ship in the middle of the ocean. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to watch more exciting videos like this. You can search for the movie Escape Plan to watch the full episode. Thank you for watching.